Hey guys, welcome back.
Okay. And he made it weird. Made it weird. Big shock.
All right, we started off this video with us going to our favorite dessert spot. Let's go check it out.
And one's gonna have light whip and extra cookies. That is gonna be it. Unless you give like a discount.
All right, so in this video, we're talking about you driving the camper for the first time.
So before I actually got to drive the camper for the first time, we had to go pick it up because when Kevon moved down here, he didn't bring it with him. And so we had to go back home for a little bit, grab the camper, and then bring it back to Tennessee. And then once we brought it back and we decided we were going to take it out for a little bit, I decided, well, it's probably a good time for me to try to learn how to drive it. So that's what I did.
Here we're pulling up to our storage facility in Houston, Texas, where we kept our camper in the past. I like this facility because it was covered. I tend to always stick to covered spots to help to protect the camper as much as possible. After we get everything lined up, I am going to go through my proper channels. It's been a while since we've been here. Remember, we've been in Nashville and not on site. So I like to walk around and make sure that everything looks good. You're going to see me look down both sides of the camper, and I'm just looking for anything that looks out of place, out of the ordinary, anything that I might need to troubleshoot before moving the camper. Here you're going to see me do two things. Number one, you're going to see me connect the harness from the fifth wheel to the trailer. That supplies power as well as brakes to the trailer. And then you're going to see me remove my hitch lock that keeps that pin protected when stowed away. You're going to see me now level the camper, get it up to a height to where I can connect it to the fifth wheel connection in the back of the truck. And now I'm just going to line everything up and make sure that I can make a safe, secure connection to the fifth wheel hitch. Once everything is latched, we put in our pins to make sure nothing moves, nothing shifts, and then we make sure we have a tight connection to the fifth wheel hitch. I'm going to grab this cord here that's attached to the carabiner at the end. I'm going to connect that to the back of the truck. Should the fifth wheel disconnect from the truck, that's going to engage the emergency brake. Next, I'm going to do what is called a tug test. This was taught to me, so this is why you see me playing around with the jacks on this level. I will produce a video explaining this in full detail. Worked up a little sweat getting that out of there, but it's out. I'm doing an actual walk around now, and the whole purpose of this walk around again is we have moved the camper just a little bit forward out of the storage facility. We want to check tires, we want to check jacks, we want to check the slides, the windows, we want to look at the ladder at the back of the camper. We want to make sure that this awning here is in place. What you're not seeing me do is physically touch it, but I am physically touching it and making sure everything is intact. All this is just security checks. Finally, I'm going to make sure that that connection is secured once again at the back of the truck so that we don't have any problems or issues going down the highway. We made it all the way to Memphis, Tennessee. So we set up camp and we stayed the night, and we will finish the rest of the drive tomorrow. But before that, we needed to get some food. So we went to Whataburger. It was here that we initially had the conversation where Naima said, I think I want to drive the fifth wheel. So we made it happen. I drove majority of the way to Nashville, and once we pull over for a stop, we switched seats. She did the road only, no highways for the first time, all the way to Elm Hill RV Park.
What is that?
You're good. Your initial thoughts, why did you want to drive the camper?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I didn't want to drive the camper. Let's just be real. I don't love driving, to be honest. Not because I'm a bad driver, I just don't love driving. I did not want to drive the camper for a while because honestly it intimidated me. You know, pulling 30, 31, 32 feet, whatever, what have you, behind you, it just felt like a lot. And you know, people kept telling me, or KB kept telling me, oh, it'll be fine, you can do it, whatever. So now that we live in Tennessee and we're gonna start exploring a whole different side of the country, it just makes sense that I need to know how to drive it. That does not mean that I plan on driving it all the time or anything like that, but I need to know how to do it. That's just the reality of it. And so we took it out just kind of close by home, I guess you would say. It wasn't that far from the house, like 40 minutes maybe. And I felt like that was a good like introduction into learning how to drive it. So
Awesome. What initially, I guess, feelings? What were your feelings while actually in the driver's seat and getting to step on the gas for the first time? What was that feeling?
I mean, probably the same feelings that most people have when you're trying to drive something intimidating and large. It was terrifying. I didn't know what I was doing. I was nervous that, you know, is it properly hitched up? Am I going to turn too sharp and jackknife and shatter this window? Because fun fact, that was something that KB told me the very first time that we got the camper, was that if you turn too sharp, you can shatter the back window. Now, why you would tell somebody like myself who already has anxiety about things, especially things that are very unlikely to happen, that sticks with me. That's the type of stuff that I'm going to like lock in my memory. So every time I made a turn, even the smallest turn, I'm talking about like you're switching lanes and like you barely cut your wheel, I was like, the back window's going to shatter for sure. Glass going to be everywhere. Glass going to get on Remy. I was certain that was going to happen. So that was definitely my initial thought of it. But to be perfectly honest, once we got on the road, it didn't feel like, I didn't feel heavy. I didn't feel like I was feeling the camper behind me. I think I was overly cautious about my spacing and being in the lane and, not wanting to be over the line and stuff like that. So that was something I think I overanalyzed a lot of the ride, but overall, it really wasn't bad. There were definitely moments where it got scary. I missed a turn and we had to turn around. And again, trying to find somewhere to turn around with that much behind you was not easy. So I'll let him share a little bit about how that went. It was not pretty, not my finest moment, not at all, not gonna lie. There were tears, and I'm not an emotional person, so if there were tears, that means I was pissed. But yeah, it was not my finest hour trying to turn around. A U-turn in that thing was every bit of the fear that I had in myself, and that was terrifying. I was certain that the window was going to shatter.
So just to clarify a couple things, 3 things to be exact. Number 1, no, the plan is not for her to drive all the time, but the plan is for her to share in some of the traveling that we will be doing, because we do camp a lot.
Sharing the traveling, I just don't share in the driving.
Secondly, the turning of the wheel and the back cab of the truck. So fifth wheels hang over. You have the truck, right? Truck bed, front of the truck. You have the camper that's going over the back bed of the truck. So sometimes when you turn, that corner of that fifth wheel can hit that top cab of your truck. So I didn't know what the spacing was when I put the two together. You know, you got a lot going on. You're in the excitement of we're getting this new camper. We're gonna get to go do all these experiences, and all that is awesome. And then you don't think about all the other things that go into it until you're actually in it and you're going down the road. So yes, that was one of the things I talked about. And I did take a turn kind of slow because it was a construction area and I had to turn really deeper than I probably should have or was comfortable turning. And so I did make the comment to her that, well, I'm turning this slow because that cab can hit the back of that window and shatter that glass. And I didn't know what the spacing was. This is just left Camping World with it, driving home for the first time, and we're going down the road. So that was that experience with
I think that, as a matter of fact, he actually sent me a video at one point of someone who shattered it. So that did it for me. I was like, obviously it happens all the time. Clearly it's going to happen. Yeah. And the first several times that we pulled the camper that he's pulling it, mind you, I was terrified in the car because I kept thinking like, if this is something that happens all the time, it's going to happen to us, right? Being newbies. And obviously it didn't. But again, you know, when you think of like doomsday type stuff, when your husband sends you videos and talks to you about stuff like that, in your mind, you're starting to think, okay, this is going to happen. And it didn't. It did not happen, obviously. I had to make several turns. But talk about when we had to U-turn and what that was like, because I got it done, but it was not pleasant.
Yeah, so I had stopped filming her driving, and in the clips that you previously saw, you probably saw us turn into M Hill, but that wasn't the direction we were supposed to turn into M Hill Resort. We actually went past the entrance of it on total accident.
This was labeled poorly.
And we were trying to find a good spot to turn around. You don't get very much opportunities to make mistakes in these situations. Again, and she was driving for the first time, so it kind of intensified, you know, what that situation was. So, but we did find a parking lot of some type of industrial facility, I guess.
Because there were rigs. Yeah. Not rigs, but there were 18-wheelers there. So
yeah,
some sort of warehouse.
There were 18-wheelers there that turned in, but they had a gate that they went through, you can tell, to kind of wrap the building and come back out the other side. That gate for us was closed. So what I did was I had her just pull up to that gate. And when we pulled up to the gate, that made the camper and the truck be in a straight line. And from there, I just kind of navigated her on turning your wheel the opposite of where you wanted the camper to go. And so a little trick there that I had told someone that told me they were nervous about that if you put your hand at the bottom of the steering wheel, you turn your hand where you want that back of the trailer to go, and that can help to guide you to kind of turn that or back up that camper. So that's what we did. We backed her up as much as we can, and then we pulled forward, and then we backed her up a little bit more, and then we pulled forward and got through that turn. Again, she was pretty nervous about it again because it's a first time experience doing it. And I'm sure I didn't help the situation.
I fully panicked. And when he started giving me that tip about hold your hand here and all that, I wasn't trying to hear none of that. I can be honest with you. Like, which way am I turning? How do I do this? And as he's trying to talk loud enough for me to hear, I mean, tensions just got high. I got angry. He got frustrated. You know, we got out of there, but needless to say, that is not the experience you want to have the first time you're pulling and having to make a U-turn essentially. Mm-hmm. But you know what? It kind of makes me think of when I first learned how to ride a motorcycle and learning how to U-turn. And I had someone who was super patient with me then. Shout out to Adam. Thank you, because I freaked out then too. It's just the unfamiliar, I guess. Now, in a regular vehicle, you all, I can make a U-turn. I can make a U-turn on pretty much anything at this point. But yeah, that was definitely scary. So,
on a point to something she said, I want to let everybody know this. If you are thinking about RVing or camping or whatever, if you're thinking about dibbling or dabbling in this with your spouse, significant other, please know that if your relationship is not strong, this will push you to some limits.
Yeah.
It will put you in situations because things are going to go wrong.
100%.
And especially when you're backing up that camper, you're going to be in situations where communication is key. Fortunately enough, I think we both have thick skin, so sometimes we get a little antsy with each other.
Is it thick skin, or are both of us very sarcastic and just roll with it?
That too.
It's a tit for tat situation, and you have to laugh at it after a while, because one of us will say something sarcastic and then the other one will respond back with sarcasm. So but 14 years in it, it is what it is.
Don't jump into this to force yourself to spend time with your significant other to build your bond and all that if you're on shaky ground, because it's gonna put you over the top. So there's my aid for this week on that subject. Just make sure that you guys know what you're getting into with there. Now, once you get there, you get set up and everything's good. It's beautiful. It's amazing. You have a great time. You surround yourself with good people.
Yep.
Best thing to do is build a fire, pour you a drink, and
or a non-alcoholic drink if that's not your thing.
Well, a drink could be anything. I didn't say alcoholic drink.
I'm
I
sorry.
just said a drink.
I said it. Okay. You're right. Okay.
So
you're thirsty.
all that can be a great experience for you. But we just kind of wanted to talk you through her first time doing it.
You missed a key part.
What's that?
I not only did I drive to the camping site, I also backed into it.
Yeah.
And we were at a site that had a really huge boulder, actually on both sides. So the site wasn't big. It was long in depth, I would say that, but the roads were somewhat narrow, and there were some what I like to call decorative rocks around, because they obviously were brought in. They weren't something that was already there. Very frustrating as someone who's brand new. When I pulled into the campsite, a lot of people were out, and it's, like I said, narrow lanes.
And a lot of people noticed her driving, because
yes.
as we were walking and strolling around the campground, they all complimented her on, towing that fifth wheel.
Well, and I will say, I thought people were being facetious, to be honest. And I even asked him, I was like, are they being sarcastic? Like, did I look ridiculous trying to back this camper in? Because I felt like it took me a while. But it was really cool. There was a Class A next to us. So for those of you who don't know what that is, it's one of those big bus ones. So the ones that drive, they were next to us. It was an older couple. And the husband came out and he asked me, he's like, have you ever driven semis? And so again, I thought he was being funny. KB said he was not. We'll never know.
She did a good job. I didn't record her backing up because I was trying to be
because
zoned
I asked
in,
him to focus.
and it was her first time doing it, so we didn't get to get that on camera. But she did a great job, awesome with it. You will get to see her, if you haven't already, pull out of the campsite, because she did drive that whole deal. She drove us through the car wash. We got the camper, I keep saying car wash, the truck wash. We got the truck and the camper cleaned up before we put it away, because it would be a couple weeks before we got it out again. And then you get a lot of those bugs on there on your front.
Which was a really cool experience. I've never been in something like that. I love a good car wash, but I've always been curious about how these big rigs, like 18-wheelers and stuff like that, how they get cleaned. And so going through that truck wash and just seeing, like, they've got it down to a science. It's typically like 5 or 6 individuals out there. I mean, and they get all up and on top of those things and everything like that, because we got to see some of the big rigs go before us. And I was telling him, I'm like, they're efficient, and it's, I mean, honestly, it's cheaper than what we paid for some really good car washes. So
Yes, it was.
I was super impressed with that, and they do a good job. And it's quick. Now you're not getting, you know, they're not drying it off or anything like that, but it's a rig. Like, you want it clean, but I don't need you to wipe it fully down, you know. But I thought that was pretty cool.
Excuse me. Yeah, and so if you watch our first video, you also got to see her drive in my current truck. Her first drive was in the old truck, but you also got to see her drive in the current truck, and she did a great job. She drove a longer distance on that one, and that one was straight highway for her, and she did awesome. So my hope is in the future that we get
the straight highway. Straight highway was great, 181 miles somewhere, and you're like, ooh, no turns have to be made. That was fan favorite. I will say that.
So hopefully we can, you know, get a lot longer of a travel day in now that I have a second driver. But
We'll pray about it.
with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Like the video if you like the content. Comment, drop us a comment, ask your questions. We'd love to get back to you and answer those. And hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever we do drop a video. Anything else you got?
That's all I've got. Cheers, you guys.
See you next week.